Welcome to Learn English Speaking. Let's talk stories. Here we bring you amazing stories to improve your English fluency. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more exciting lessons. Let's learn together.
Chapter 1. A Band on a Guitar. Before I was born, my mom played music with 4 friends. There's a photograph of them in our living room. Evie, Grace, Angela, Kate, and my mom. They were the Sweet Pepper Band, and they played South American music. Mom played guitar. Mom had long dark hair. In the photograph she's wearing a big hat, a red shire, and yellow trousers. She looks South American, but she's not, she's English. She's smiling in the photograph. She looks beautiful. She's beautiful now too. But these days her hair is short and the dark brown color comes from a bottle. Mom doesn't play her guitar very often anymore. It sits in the corner of the living room waiting for Evie, Grace, Angela, or Kate to visit. When I was a little girl, I liked to put my small hand on the front of Mom's guitar while she played it. My hand moved a little because of the music. Mom said that was called vibration. She was happy that I could feel the vibration of her music when I put my hand on her guitar. And she wasn't angry when one day I had blue paint on my hand, and I put it on the guitar. Mom liked me to feel the vibration of her music, you see. That's because I can't hear her music. My ears don't work. I'm deaf. I was born like that. Sometimes I think that's why Mom doesn't play music very often, because she knows I can't hear it. And now that I'm 18 years old, my hands are too big to put them on the front of the guitar. I don't know if Mom was sad to have a deaf baby. She tells me I was beautiful when I was born. I had lots of blonde hair and blue eyes that went brown like hers after a few months. But I don't think Mom's sad because she smiles all the time. Mom smiles more than anyone I know. She's always happy, that's one of the things everyone loves about her. The children at Busy Kids Day Nursery, where we both work, all love Mom. Busy Kids is Mom's business. She started it 5 years ago. Mom's really good with children. I remember when I was quite young, 5 or 6 years old, I was sad about something. I don't remember what I was sad about, but I do remember what Mom said. We sat in a chair together with her face close to mine, and she put her arms around me. We stayed like that for a while, and then she sat back so she could talk to me. Mom and I use our hands and fingers to talk to each other. It's called signing. Anyway, Mom said that we can choose how to be in life, happy or sad. She said, life's short, so choose to be happy. I try never to forger those words. I try to be like my mom because I think she's a wonderful person. I don't know much about my father because he left after I was born. All I know is that he played music too, and that he's French. He lives in Paris now. Mom and my father met when he was working in Norwich for a year. They fell in love and soon got married. Dad moved into the house where Mom and I live now. Norwich is a beautiful place, but it isn't as big and exciting as Paris. I think my father got bored. Or perhaps he was sad when I was born deaf. Because that's when he went away to live with his family in Paris. He never came back. Some of my friends don't talk to their parents very much. My friend Suzanne sometimes tells her mother she's with me when she's really with her boyfriend. She does this because her mom worries about her all the time. She worries about where she is and who she's with. But Mom and I are very close, and I couldn't tell her something that wasn't true. Anyway, she doesn't worry the way Suzanne's mom does, so I usually tell her everything. But I didn't tell her when I fell in love for the first time. I don't know why. Perhaps it was because it felt so strange, because I felt so strange. It was almost like being on a boat on an angry sea. Sometimes I was afraid of how I felt. And there was another problem. I didn't know the name of the man I was in love with. Chapter 2. Shopping. Just for a moment, try to think what it's like to live in my world. Stop what you're doing and put your hands over your ears. Are there no sounds at all? Or are the noises of the street just quieter than usual? I know Mom loves listening to the sounds of birds singing in the countryside when we go walking. In my world there are no birds singing. There are no noisy men working on the roads. No people leaving bars late at night shouting at each other. No babies crying. But the man I love doesn't live in my world. He lives in the hearing world. The first time I saw him, he was standing in front of the shop across the road from our house. He was putting apples and oranges onto the table outside the shop, and his black hair had blue lights in it from the sun. I watched him from my bedroom window, and I smiled at how carefully he was putting the fruit onto the table. He was like an artist, not a shop assistant. Then, as I watched, a big motorbike went up the street. The young man looked up and smiled as he watched it go past. I saw the motorbike go past, but he heard it first, then saw it. After the motorbike was gone, he went back to his fruit. But then a small girl fell off her bicycle close to the shop, and he ran to help her. He knew she wanted help because he heard her. In only 1 minute, I already knew 4 things about him. He had beautiful black hair. He liked motorbikes. He was kind to apples, oranges, and little girls. And of course, he could hear. Until I first saw him, I didn't think very often about being deaf. It's all I've ever known, and I can't do anything to change it. And all my boyfriends have been deaf. But after I saw the young man, I wanted to be like most other people. I didn't want to be different. I soon found out that he only worked at the shop on Saturdays. After that I went in there to buy something each Saturday. Every week I wanted to talk to him, but every week I just smiled and paid for my things. Things that I didn't really want. Mom often looked at me strangely when I came back from the shop. "We didn't need any apples, Samantha," she said once. "I bought some yesterday." And another time, "We've already got biscuits in the cupboard." On Saturdays I always wanted to go to the shop, but I always felt afraid too. I never felt very comfortable as I walked across the road. I played with the money in my pocket like a child going to buy sweets. And then sometimes when I got to the shop I waited for a moment outside, reading the postcards in the window. People who want to sell things write about them on a postcard, and the young man puts them in the window. Car, 5 years old. Cat needs good home, large fridge, nearly new. One Saturday I read all of the postcards twice before I went into the shop. Then, when I was inside, I didn't know what to buy. Mom and I always go to the supermarket on Fridays, and I really didn't want anything. The young man was busy selling bread and cakes to a woman with 2 children. This gave me time to think, and in the end I decided to buy a newspaper. The shop was often very busy on Saturdays. Usually the young man just had time to smile at me and take my money. But that morning it was different. After the woman and her children left, the shop was empty. There was only me and the young man. When I took my newspaper to him to pay for it, he smiled. But when I tried to smile back at him, my mouth felt like wood. Then he said something to me. I watched his mouth closely. We had lessons at school to help us lip read, to watch people's mouths to read their words when they talk. I can lip read quite well. So I watched the young man's mouth and I thought he was talking about a fire. A big fire. Then I looked down at my newspaper and saw a picture of a house on fire. It was a color picture, and the fire was very big and red. I hoped nobody was in the house. That's what I wanted to say to the young man. How terrible. I hope nobody was in the house. But I didn't say it. I didn't say anything. I don't like speaking, you see. I don't like actually using my voice. When I was a child, I often tried to talk and other children didn't understand me. Sometimes they laughed. That's why I think my voice sounds strange. And I didn't want the young man to think I was strange. When I looked up, the young man was speaking again. Then he wailed for me to answer him. But I didn't hear him, so I couldn't. So I just smiled and took my newspaper and left the shop. But as I walked across the road to my house, I felt sad because I was sure he probably did think I was strange now. Chapter 3. My best friend. Mom looked at me when I went into the house with the newspaper. We signed to each other. Are you okay? She asked, and I did my best to smile. Yes, I'm okay, I said. She looked at me for a moment as if she didn't quite believe me, and then she said, Ron's here. He's in the living room. That made me happy again. Ron is my very best friend. We lived next door to each other when we were children. Now he's a student in London, and I don't get to see him very often. He's studying to be a teacher of deaf children. He wanted to become one because of me. Ron learned to speak to me by signing when he was very young. I went quickly into the living room. Ron was sitting on the sofa reading a magazine. When he saw me, he put the magazine down. Hi, Sam. He signed to me and smiled. Hi, Ron. I smiled back and kissed him. How are you? I was really happy to see him. I knew I could tell him about my problem with the man from the shop. Ron understood these things. I remember the first time he fell in love. It was with my friend Suzanne, actually. Mum put her head round the door. I watched her mouth move as she asked Ron if he wanted a cup of tea. She likes Ron as much as I do. When we were children, she often took both of us to the sea for the day. Once I asked Ron what the sound of the sea was like. He said, "The sea's loud when it gets to the beach. But it can be soft and quiet too." Usually I don't feel sad about being deaf, but I love the sea, and I would like to hear what it sounds like very much. I quickly told Ron about the man from the shop before Mum came back with the tea. Actually, I think I know him, Ron said after a few moments. My brother's friend has a Saturday job at that shop. He's a student at the university. He lives in Pete's house. Pete is Ron's brother. I couldn't believe it. My man lived in Pete's house. What's his name? I asked. Jim, Ron told me. Actually, Pete's having a party at his house tonight. Come with me. Jim will probably be there. Parties are difficult for me because I can't talk to people. It's different when I'm with my other deaf friends because we sign to each other and we laugh a lot. Going to a party with them is different to going to any other sort of party. We all speak the same language. When I'm at a party with them, I'm in the center of things. At parties with hearing people, I'm on the outside. Or I feel as if I am. Ron knew what I was thinking. Come to the party, he signed. Please. I'd like you to come. Okay, I said at last, just as Mum came in with the tea. Chapter 4. The Party. Later I was looking at all my clothes when Mum came into my bedroom. I had a green dress in one hand and a short black skirt in the other hand. I wasn't happy with the dress or the skirt. Mum took a blue jumper from the bed and gave it to me. The weatherman on the television says that it will snow, she said. Then she smiled and kissed me, and I felt bad that she didn't know about Jim. I decided to tell her as soon as there was anything to tell. If there was anything to tell. It was almost spring, but it was still very cold. Ron and I stopped to buy some drinks on the way to the party, and by the time we got to Pete's house it was beginning to snow. Ron looked at me as we waited at the door. Okay? He asked. I smiled at him. Yes, I said. I'm okay. A girl opened the door and said hello to Ron. I didn't know her. She was very pretty and she was wearing a nice red dress. I smiled at her and followed Ron into the house. Inside, we went into the kitchen. It was full of people. All the girls were wearing short dresses or skirts. I was the only one wearing a jumper and jeans. Ron and I took our drinks into the living room. This room was full of people too. And it was hot, very hot, but I couldn't take my jumper off, because I wasn't wearing a t-shirt under it. The jumper was a mistake, but I tried to forget about it. The music's very loud, I said to Ron. How do you know that? He asked and smiled. Because I can feel it in my legs, I told him, and it was true. It was like my hand on Mum's guitar. The vibration of the music was traveling from the floor into my feet. Then it was going right up my legs and into my body. A man came up to us. It was Pete. He said something to Ron, then looked right at me. Pete knows I'm deaf, of course. Hello, Sam, I saw his mouth saying. Where's Jim? I wanted to ask, but I didn't. I just said hello and smiled. Pete talked to us for a while, then he went to change the music. Ron talked to me. People in the room watched us talking with our hands. People often watch when I use sign language. It's interesting for them, I think. Ron told me about the fun he was having with his new friends in London. He talked a lot about a girl called Mary. Is Mary your girlfriend? I asked him, and his face went a bit red. At the moment she's just a friend, he said. But I want her to be my girlfriend. I thought about Jim. Where was he? Why wasn't he here? The party was in his house. Ron often knows what I'm thinking. He'll come soon, he told me. Around 10 o'clock, Ron was talking to some other friends across the room. I felt very hot in my jumper, so I decided to go into the garden for a short time. Outside, everything was white. There was snow everywhere, and it was beautiful. The garden looked like a big white cake, and I was the first person to walk on it. Or, I thought I was the first person to walk on it. But after a few moments I saw that I wasn't. I could see empty places in the snow made by shoes' footprints. But I couldn't see anyone. But I knew someone was there because just then something very cold hit the side of my face. Snow. Chapter 5. Snow Fun. More snowballs flew past my face. Then I saw someone come out from behind a white tree. It was the man from the shop. It was Jim. I laughed and quickly made a snowball. Then I sent it through the air. But Jim moved so quickly to one side the snowball hit a tree behind him. So I started to make another snowball, but before it was ready, Jim threw a new one at me. I laughed again. Then I ran behind a wall and made lots of snowballs. When they were ready, I came out from behind the wall. But Jim had made lots of snowballs too, and soon I was very wet. After a few minutes I was laughing so much my stomach hurt, just the way it does when I'm laughing at parties with my deaf friends. When I looked up at last, I saw that Jim was standing quite close to me. I also saw that something was wrong. He wasn't smiling now. He was looking at me. I remembered how he looked at me in the shop, and I knew it was the same now. He was waiting for me to answer him. But I couldn't. I looked into his face, waiting for him to speak again. After a while, he did, and this time I watched his mouth very carefully. There was an outside light on the side of the house. Anyway, the snow all around us made it almost as light as day. "What's your name?" he asked. This time I knew it was very important for me to say something. "Sam," I said carefully. "My name's Sam." "Samantha." Then I told him, "I can't hear what you say. I'm deaf." He looked at me for a very long time, and I wasn't sure if he understood. Then he smiled. "Can you lip read, Sam?" he asked. I nodded. "Yes," I said. "Usually." "Then lip read this," he said, moving his mouth carefully. "The time for talking has finished. Get your snowballs ready." Then he ran away, and went back behind his tree. Before I could move, snowballs were coming through the air again. I ran back behind my wall, laughing. My first snowball hit him in the face. But he sent one back which got me on my face. The snow was cold and wet in my eyes, but I didn't mind. I was happy. I knew Jim was throwing snowballs at me because he liked me. Sometimes when people learn about me being deaf, they're very careful with me. I feel like I'm a piece of expensive glass. It's difficult to be friends with a piece of expensive glass. Bully Jim wasn't careful with me, and I liked that. Soon I was very hot. But I didn't want to stop. I wanted to throw snowballs at Jim all night. But after about 5 minutes, Jim stopped. When I looked over to see why, I saw his mouth was moving. But he wasn't looking at me, he was looking at someone behind me. I turned and saw a girl standing near the house. It was the girl in the red dress. The same girl who opened the door when Ron and I arrived at the party. She was saying something to Jim, and she didn't look happy. She wasn't smiling, and her eyes were cold. As cold as her legs in the short red dress. Jim started to walk across the snowy grass. When he got near to me, he smiled and looked into my face. "I'll win next time," he said. Then he went inside with the girl. I stayed on in the garden for a few minutes more, but it wasn't much fun now. You can't really throw snowballs at yourself. When I went back in the house, I found Ron in the kitchen. "Sam, you're still here," he signed. "I was looking for you." He looked at my wet clothes. "What happened to your jumper?" Before I could answer, I saw Jim on the other side of the kitchen. The girl in the red dress was talking to him, but he wasn't listening. He was watching me and Ron speaking with our hands. Ron saw who I was looking at. "Have you been outside with Jim?" he asked, and he smiled when my red face gave him my answer. "I've been with Jim and about 100 snowballs." I smiled as I signed the words. Ron laughed. More people came into the kitchen, and he moved closer to me. There wasn't enough room for him to sign now, so he spoke carefully. "It's very good to see you, Sam," he said. "I like London, but it's not so much fun without you there. Ron is like my brother." So when he kissed my face, I knew it was the kiss of a brother to his sister. But I didn't know if Jim knew that. Chapter 6. Spring Cleaning. The next Saturday was the first Saturday in Murray. Mom always likes us to clean the house on the first Saturday in Murray. She calls it spring cleaning. She was cleaning downstairs, and I was cleaning upstairs. I wanted to be upstairs because I could see the shop from my bedroom window. Downstairs there are always cars in the street outside, and you can't see out very well. I really wanted to see Jim again, and I looked out of the window often while I was cleaning. Once he came outside to put some fruit and flowers onto the cable, but he didn't look across the road. The snowball fight was a week ago now. A week is a long time if you're in love. It was sunny and the snow was gone now. I was sorry about that. "Haven't you finished this room, Sam?" Mum stood in front of me, signing. She couldn't understand why I was still cleaning my room. I'm usually quite quick AC cleaning. When I'm not looking out of windows and remembering snowballs. "Sorry," I answered, and she smiled. "That's okay. Actually, can you go to the shop to get a bottle of window cleaner for me? I forgot to buy some." I couldn't believe it. She was sending me to the shop. "Do you feel okay, Sam?" Mum asked me. "You look hot." "Yes," I answered. "I feel fine." But I knew my face was red. "Are you sure?" She said. "I'll go to the shop if you want." "No." I signed. "I'll go." And I quickly went downstairs and left the house. Jim was busy when I went into the shop. He was standing near the bottles of wine with a man. He was helping the man to decide which wine to buy. The man was quite short. Jim smiled at me over his head. I smiled at him, and then I went over to the bottles of cleaner. Mom always buys the same window cleaner, but I stood in front of the different bottles as if I didn't know which one was best. I wanted the short man to choose his wine quickly and leave. I wanted Jim to myself. At last the man left, carrying 2 bottles of wine, one red, one white. I took my window cleaner over to Jim to pay for it. When I got there, he was writing something on a piece of paper. Then he gave it to me. The writing was large and black. It was like an artist's writing. I read the words, "I know more about snowballs than wine." I laughed. "Did you enjoy our snowball fight?" He wrote next. I took the pen from him. "Yes," I wrote, "I did. Very much." After he'd read my words, he looked at me. Then he started writing again. "Is Ron your boyfriend?" I read. This time I didn't write, I spoke. "No," I said. "He's my best friend. I haven't got a boyfriend." Jim understood me without any problem. Or I think he did, because he smiled. "Do you want to meet me tomorrow night?" he said, and he moved his mouth carefully so I could lip read his words. "Yes," I said. "I'd like that. How long does it take to buy window cleaner, Sam?" Mom asked me when I got back to the house, but I only smiled. "Sorry, Mom," I signed and hurried quickly upstairs. It wasn't until I started cleaning Mom's bedroom that I thought about the girl in the red dress again. Who was she? But I was afraid of the answer. I liked Jim too much, and I didn't want to think about the girl in the red dress.